So I want to take a minute to explain what's going to happen over the next couple of years. And we've talked about this before. So let's start with the card for the you know what that people got when they got the you know what. This is a control study where you are now being monitored. And people say, well, I didn't have informed consent. You didn't have informed, but you did have the consent. And I say this because when you pick up your prescriptions at the pharmacy and you sign that little dotted line to pick it up, then you understand, and the pharmacy says, do you want to ask any questions? And you say no. And then you sign your name. That's consent. It wasn't informed consent because the pamphlet wasn't in there, and nor did you get a chance to read it because it was blank. But you did consent, and you are the study. The people who got it are creating the variants because that's what it was designed to do. When those variants or come in contact with somebody else who got it, it's going to create an issue, a cytokine storm. And the 5G, like yesterday, what we had, that alert, the electromagnetic fields, because of the graphene oxide and the self-assembling of that, and creates synthetic parasites in your veins. And this is what kills you. So over the next 2 years, what's going to happen is, do you remember back, it was back in the 90s, and it was called Conspiracy Theory by the governor of Minnesota, who used to be a WWF wrestler, and I can't remember his name, but you guys can figure that out. And he showed us how the government had bought all these tens of thousands of 7-man caskets and all the body bags, cadaver bags. All right, so this has been planned since the 90s, just so you know. That's what all of that is for, is today. So over the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of those getting filled up, if you know what I mean. Now, let me take you back to the 90s. And the studies, they used to be available on the 3-letter alphabet organization that begins with C and ends with C. I haven't looked at them in a couple of years, so I don't know if they're still up. But they had done several studies using ferrets. They made this virus and they injected it into the ferrets. And the ferrets, when reintroduced to the virus or a variant, died. And all of the studies that they had done, they all had to cancel and stop the study because all the ferrets were dying. So this is a weapon of bio. I'm trying to be careful while I say this stuff so I don't get, taken down. But this is called systemic murder. It's where one person's body kills another. Systemic murder. So nobody even has to lift a finger to reduce the population. And nobody, well, they didn't think that nobody would figure this out. But see, God tells us everything if you are open to receiving all the information. Not only that, we do have a lot of people who have been speaking out about this and parasites and pretty much everything else, which is why when we look at the protocol for people hospitalized, there is a certain protocol, and that is controlled by the CMS, or Contract for Medicaid and Medicare Services, called CMS. And that is written and drafted by HHS and the Department of Defense, along with the CDC. The CMS is a contract that every public hospital that accepts Medicaid or Medicare, or a doctor that receives Medicaid or Medicare, has to follow. And it is guidelines. That's what it is. It's guidelines. So if you go to the doctor for the flu, the doctor says, or the CMS report contract says to the doctor, okay, well, you have to start out with X, Y, and Z. X, we know, is probably not going to work, and Y is probably not going to work, but Z will work. However, the CMS will say, first you have to try X, then you can try Y, then you can try Z. But what they don't allow the doctors to do is use B. B is the solution to get to the root cause, which is why you saw a lot of doctors who were prescribing and using ivermectin, as well as a few hospitals that were allowing it to be used, was closed down, fined, until they got into compliance, because they opted to use B and not XYZ. And I hope this makes sense to all of you, reading in between the lines of what I'm saying. But do expect a whole lot of sudden deaths for every time these variants are made. So it's so important for anybody who got the you know what to detox their system. I mean, really detox it and stay on it until it's completely done, and then do it at least. I detox every day, so but it's so important. Dr. McCullough has a protocol out for detoxing, which I'll just share it. I'll make another video and share it. But it's important for y'all, especially those who did it, to detox. We don't know what's going to happen, like who's going to be able to save themselves and who's not going to be able to. But I pray for our nation that God will intervene and heal our nation and open eyes to see and ears to hear. God first, and God bless.